Welcome to Liturgical Shenanigans, a Wayfolk Arts podcast, with your hosts, Hannah,
Phil,
Jackson,
and Maddie.
it's May, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. And today we have an exciting episode because it's graduation season, it's finishing of degrees and programs and all the things. And today we're talking about that.
It's also Weird Dutch Town's tulip times.
also that.
It's trapped in your house because of all the tourists.
And it
time of
doesn't
year.
even happen in one Dutch town. That's the most
That's
horrific
true.
part of it.
It happens in multiple Dutch towns, and it's always around graduation.
Yep.
Because the tulips.
Which is
are
always
here
around
for
Mother's Day.
3 days.
Except for that STEM festival of 2014.
There's been a lot of STEM festivals. I remember STEM festival, my first, when I was first year for a DL intensive. It was, because we used to do them in May, like right before
Yeah.
graduation, yeah.
I remember.
And yeah, it was definitely a STEM festival.
Yep.
But anyways, we're here to talk about not stems.
Graduation. And
Graduation.
we have a liturgy of the month.
It's a liturgy that's happening in a month.
It's
This month?
true.
That's true.
That's written by one of us.
A liturgy of May.
Yeah.
A Maying.
A sort of prompt for the conversation that we want to have that also shares a liturgy because we like liturgies. There you go.
It's
That's
a
what
liturgy
happening.
For a threshold.
That occurs within a shenanigan.
Also that. Yeah.
A
Yeah.
liturgy within a shenanigan within a podcast.
Within the month of May.
Within the month of May.
Yikes.
We brought it all around.
So we have a
There we
gift
go.
from Hannah today.
Yes. Okay, so a little bit of context about this piece. I'll tell you about the shenanigan that this was part of. This piece I wrote is specifically for the Western Theological Seminary community. And one of the rituals that happens at the end of the year, school year there, is a blessing service for all of the folks who are leaving. Usually seniors and graduates and all of that, but other folks who might be leaving for other reasons are also included in that too. And part of that service is inviting 3 members of the community, usually faculty or staff, to do a what's it called?
Liturgical catechesis.
Yes, a liturgical catechesis, which really just means you get up and talk for a couple minutes about what blessing is and why we do it. And I got to be one of the people who did that this year, which I was literally so excited to do, because
And she gave the best one. Sorry to the other people maybe listening. I'm slightly biased.
Hannah
The other
puts
ones were
the
delightful.
rich in ritual.
Hey.
She
Yeah,
does.
that's fine.
Hannah made the Enneagram 8 cry.
Oh.
yeah, I don't. The 4 in me is very proud. And sorry.
No, you're not.
No, I'm not. I made you feel things. It's my only goal in life. Anyway, so I got to do this liturgical catechesis on blessing in this service that really means a lot to me as both someone who has been on the receiving end of that and now as someone who gets to continue blessing graduates and other folks as they leave the community. So we're going to start the conversation today with a reading of this piece that I'm calling For a Threshold.
How would you like people to prepare their bodies?
Yes. Okay. So, as is typically our practice, find yourself a cozy place to listen well. Settle into your chair if you're sitting, or if you're listening to this while you're doing dishes. Feel your feet on the ground. Feel the ground beneath your feet. Feel the dishes in your hands. And invite your mind to gently settle and prepare itself to listen and receive these words. Maybe take a slow, deep breath in and a slow breath out. And hear these words that I wrote. John O'Donohue, a Celtic master of blessing, in his book To Bless the Space Between Us, talks about blessing as being words for a threshold. Friends, in truth, every day is a threshold, but sometimes the thresholds are a little bit bigger. This is one of them. You stand at an end and a beginning. Blessings are threshold rituals meant to protect, to encourage, to challenge, to guide, and to sustain us through the journey of crossing a threshold. And the thing is, thresholds often take a lot longer to cross than we think they will. The change comes in bits. Last assignment turned in. Applications are submitted. A tassel dangles from your cap at graduation. Your first day at the job. Your diploma comes in the mail. You have to learn the names of all of your new coworkers and the people you serve. The end of August comes and you realize you're not starting classes. The change comes in bits, and sometimes unexpectedly. And maybe for you, the end is the only clear part of this threshold. Maybe you don't know what beginning you're stepping into yet. That's okay. Today, we give you a blessing to protect, to encourage, to challenge, to guide, to sustain you as you go on the journey of crossing this threshold. We give you a blessing to remind you that you are not alone. Our hearts travel with you, whatever you are stepping into next. The ritual of blessing sees the current reality and pulls closer the reality we long for you. It invokes the power of that spirit already present and at work in the world and begs her to come a little bit closer. In the act of blessing, we seek to say, we see you, we know you, and we know the Spirit of Christ that lives in you. Let us glimpse the future for a moment together. Here is how we long for it to be. May it be like this. May you live into these things, these callings, these gifts. May you be brought forward safely and with courage and great joy. Our blessing goes with you wherever this threshold takes you next.
Right back there.
Yeah. It's so interesting being on the other side of receiving a blessing like this. Because I feel like when you're on the receiving end of this, like there's either so much energy and excitement or so much terror and anxiety. And whether you know what's next or not, there's kind of just like this vastness open before you. And for the people in academia in particular, who don't move on, and who stay to try to continue the work of bringing people forward into that vastness, like this time getting to say, like, even though you're leaving and we're staying, we're going with you and you're staying here with us. Because even if like professors and staff members at whatever school you're at make relationships with new students, being both the daughter of professors and friend to a lot of professors, they don't forget the relationships they've had with their students. And we have so many rituals around graduation and the end of the school year, and I think that sort of a stepping into this vastness is really worth taking the time to do these rituals. I think we need more rituals like this in normal, regular, ordinary life too. But this is one of those moments that feels so worthy of taking the time to do those rituals. I don't know if other people feel like that, but I feel like that about graduation or leaving a space in particular. I'm curious how that thought strikes the other three of you, because I know we all have different experiences of graduation or just like the end of our time in a particular institution.
I have two thoughts from two different perspectives. So I was never a professor. I was a teacher for a little bit, kind of. But I was a youth director, and we did graduate Sunday and did a blessing service and prayed over them, and it was lovely and beautiful, and I usually cried and would experience this feeling of, oh no, it's never going to be the same again when they leave. Mm-hmm. And will I like whatever comes next?
Yeah.
Almost always ended up feeling the exact same way the next year with the next class. Mm-hmm. But it's not just a big change for the people leaving. It is a change for the community you're leaving behind. And so what I like about what you've said is it notes that change. This is happening to all of us, with all of us, because we're coming with you. We see you. We're going to glimpse into the future together. Yeah. I don't know. I just think that that's really beautiful and a good, I don't know if reminder is the right word. It's just good to have that awareness that everybody's experiencing some kind of threshold on that graduation day. Mm-hmm. It's okay to acknowledge it. I'll hold my next thought in case someone wants to say something else.
Well, yeah, and both of you talking about thresholds so far. Thresholds are, we hunger for rituals to observe thresholds for, which is interesting. That's kind of just like a human thing that is there. Like and yet, so especially with graduation, it's one of those ones that is really hard, at least the times that I've graduated, to get into the mood of the rituals, which is interesting because it is like I'm aware cerebrally that it is like an important moment is happening. You're stepping across a threshold into another thing. And yet I have such a hard time being present in those moments. And it's typically in reflection that when I think back to a moment, I'm grateful for the ritual because it provides a remembrance grounding point, more so for me in my experience than in the moment itself grounding myself. They're beautiful moments, and like I love especially having ways, either notes or that I've written or notes that someone else has written, or in the case of like a beautifully crafted something like you shared, Hannah, being able to like write the person and be like, hey, can you send me the thing that you said, because I like in the moment I caught like maybe a third of it. And so that sort of signpost for later when you're wanting to remember what happened that day or what happened in that moment or at that threshold, and kind of capture a piece of that again has been the part that I've been the most grateful for in those various threshold moments.
I think that makes sense. It's the opposite for me. I never really feel what's about to happen until rituals like this happen. It suddenly becomes real. And so what I was going to say of my second point, because I was a graduate in this particular service, so
I got to bless Maddie. It was lovely.
I hated it.
And I loved
because it made me feel things, because I had not felt much up until the ritual. And what I liked about the practice of doing a liturgical catechesis of blessing is that context of what we're about to do made what was about to happen more meaningful and allowed me to be more present to it, because I was able to go, oh, this is what this is. This is what we're doing together. I don't know. It just made it feel like not like a bigger deal than it already was, because I already recognized that graduating was a big deal, but it made it a much more emotional experience for me. It was like my whole body was present to the thing rather than just my brain trying to get to the finish line.
Yeah.
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 I think that's what all ritual makers seek for their ritual to do. You're describing like exactly that's such a needed moment of like, how many times do you walk through a threshold and never know?
Right.
And yet when an intentional ritual is set up to wake you up to it, it's part of the necessity of it. It's beautiful.
Well, and if you're someone who likes to sleep through things until after the fact, because maybe experiencing the thing after the fact is safer, that still met. I would say the ritual still met its intention, just maybe a couple beats later.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Phil, you look so deep in thought.
Yeah, I'm not there yet. Sorry.
Sorry, didn't mean to rush you.
Not where.
Yeah. Not ready to talk yet.
I don't have my thoughts. I can start stumbling, but I resonate with pieces of things people are saying, like what Maddie was saying about people who like to sleep through things. And with Jackson saying it's difficult to be awake to it, and that rituals want you to wake up to it, and to, how did you say it? That it's hard to be in the moment or appreciative or receiving of what's happening while it's happening.
Yeah.
Hate is a strong word, but I don't
Use it.
like or want threshold noticing. I like, and this is, I'm playing this in my head and all the Enneagram 9 things and whatever, but like, if we do a birthday celebration, it's to satisfy the needs other people have around wanting me to feel celebrated. If we do, like, I went to graduation because there's somebody who invested in me doing it and they deserve to go to a thing and for me to act like it matters. And so that's interesting because, so, you know, when I went, of course I did my high school graduation because I think everybody does. And then open house sort of thing. When I finished Western Seminary, I did. And that was, in my head, it did feel significant. And, you know, with the distance learning thing, there's not that many cool things you get to do with your peers. And I think everybody did it. I don't think there was anyone that didn't. So it wasn't.
It was during the Monday of intensives, too.
Yeah, it
back
didn't feel
then.
like an optional thing.
Right.
It also probably felt weird because it was the Monday of intensives.
Right.
So
Right
you,
before,
Right.
DL students had a whole week of class.
So I'll tell you about the
still left.
feelings I got that day. The feelings I had that day. I still had, you don't think Dr. Brownson listens to this podcast, right? I still had
I hope he does.
so much to do for the Corinthians class.
Oh, yes.
And it was like, I felt like I still had like, you know, ballpark 80% of the class left to do. And
Good Lord. Oh, my
Anyway.
anxiety just spiked. Okay.
it probably wasn't exactly that. But there was a lot to do, and I had the week to get it done because that was the due date at the end of the week, right? And so what was handed out, because IR students were done,
Right.
and so they got, when they walked across the stage, they got their
Not all of us.
Well,
well, okay, fair. For the ones that were done, they got their thing.
Yes.
I went and got mine and walked across, which that picture of me receiving it was on the thing like the next year, the commencement.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever. So that moment of me
photos.
taking this piece of something was documented. And then I go and sit down with my little folder and I peek in it, and Pat Dykhuis has put a piece of paper in it that says you will receive your degree upon the completion, which every DL student got, but it felt like it was a note to me going like, all of this is fake, you know, and, yeah, you did not deserve this ritual. You are not there yet, you know. Those were the feelings I had during it. But in general, like, so my undergrad I skipped. It was no interest for me in it. And now I just finished another degree and I'm doing it, which surprised me. I didn't know that I would. And I, you know, part of that was Northwestern has purple robes.
Right.
Yeah.
Solid move. Yeah.
I now have a
Good color.
purple robe.
It's good color.
But also, like, these, because of the way that we fell during COVID and such, I've never met all but a couple of my course mates in person. And now we get to do that. And that's lovely. And we'll get to pose for pictures in our purple stuff, and that sounds fun. Today was the day I actually went online and got guest tickets and stuff for my family. Like I'm actually doing this thing. And it's a curious thing for me to wonder how much of my discomfort with attention being brought to me or making things about everyone else is what this is about. I really resonated with what you have in your liturgy here about thresholds being not a moment, and that the recognition, the ritual isn't a moment. But I'm thinking about how I finished my courses, at the end of February, and the last couple months have just been a whirlwind of still doing the stuff to get to the thing. Like a couple weeks ago, I got the license, and then I had to apply for some other stuff. And like today, Maddie was with me as I was putting decor up in the office. Like there's all of these pieces between, the celebration of the moment of finishing and actually getting to whatever the new beginning is. Yeah. And those are meaningful to me.
Yes. Well, I wonder, I'm trying to decide if I'm going to ask my clarify. I resonate with all of that because I graduated from seminary and there's still so much more to do for ordination, right? This was frankly, it was a small piece of such a bigger puzzle. And the work that I went to school to do is what actually excites me, not the school itself. I mean, I love school, but I wonder if some of it is you just want to get to do the thing and you're like, well, this was just the hoop I jumped and now I'm getting to do the thing and I'm excited to actually tangibly feel like I'm making, I don't know, steps to do the thing.
That's definitely true. The self-examination is for me is in the like, what is the rejection resistance to feeling accomplishment or to enjoying someone else celebrating accomplishment or something. I imagine there's other folks out there who resonate with that.
For sure.
Who don't like those kinds of rituals, but there's not a reason for it. It just feels uncomfortable, I think.
My clarifying question is it that you don't like the ritual at all or you do not like it when it's about you? Like being honest, did you not like going to anybody else's anything?
It's okay
if
some of our
it's
graduation.
Yes, I'm just genuinely asking.
You're allowed to not. But
it just feels different to me.
I love the people that I love, and
I sure hope so.
It's just true. I do think graduations are silly, but I know other people don't.
That's okay. I just wondered.
I wonder too. I don't know if it's true or not. And there's pieces of it that I absolutely love. I love cheering for people. I do like celebrating other people's wins,
you like
especially if I know
on how people didn't trip and then they tripped shortly thereafter. You commented it.
It's true. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question though. I think. There's other things to be. I think it ties to a bit what this is talking about with the moment thing. Is I think I have some resistance to the way culturally we put so much in a moment, and then maybe there's like a fear of it feeling empty. That like the wedding is not the marriage.
Right.
The graduation is not the degree and its accomplishments. The fill in the blank.
Yeah.
And we put so much weight on. I mean, my kiddos, they put so much excitement, say, on like a Christmas morning or like on a birthday, whatever, and then like it can't be the thing.
Right.
So I wonder if there's something in me from way back that decided we don't get excited about this because it's never.
It's never what you think it's going to be.
I wonder.
That's fair. So I hate the rituals too, for myself, but I love going for other people. But one of your lines, Hannah, in your blessing, actually kind of I love the line. We see you, we know you.
Ugh.
I hate it too, because so much of the rituals is being very much seen and celebrated and loved, hopefully, if that's like the life you experience by your friends and your family. When I was waiting, when you graduate from our seminary, you wait in like the basement of the chapel and then walk up. I had a huge panic attack to the point where I wasn't sure I was going to walk because I do not like that kind of attention on me. But I was so excited for everybody else. And the same thing in this blessing service. I did not like that I was vulnerably being noticed in a thing that was going on. And then I cried, which made it even worse because I felt like everyone was looking at me in my tears and I felt shame.
Well, next time, don't win every award.
Oh. So that made it even worse. So yeah, I just, that's why I wonder if it's for you similar. I do not like the attention. I also think though that's why these rituals are meaningful for me, because it forces me to bask in the moment that is only once. Like I don't get to graduate from seminary again. From this seminary again, maybe if I ever went to another one for some reason. I don't get to be blessed by these people for this thing again in this space. The thing I would usually avoid is beautifully occurring to me, and I have to look at it and then be looked at when I do it. And that's a lovely invitation.
Part of the shift in me has really been to center on things like this blessing. And like Jackson saying, use it to return and be as present as I can through it. So like I bullet journal, as my friends know, and something from an event like this would end up in here. Like if I have a significant meeting, you can hear my bullet journal. Oh, it's like a magical effect. But yeah, like if I go to a graduation, like there's going to be pieces from the program attached in there if that kind of thing. And so, if I go on a trip or I go to a place, I'm going to grab a piece of it because I want, this is part of my core values, is I want to work more on presence and appreciating threshold moments, unique sacred moments of transition, waystones, as we talk about. So it's interesting. I think I'm at a life threshold transition of trying to learn to open myself up to some sort of vulnerability that I don't think I usually do around being celebrated, being honored,
Yeah.
Yeah. I have something I'd like to kind of poke at a little bit because I'm wondering how much of it is in me too.
Oh no.
But as you were talking about the kind of like lack of resonance with not just graduation ritual, but like many kind of corporate, like putting a lot of weight culturally into one particular ritual and like the moment of ritual, and then it's done. And I have wonderings around communal follow through as the thing. I was wondering for me and wondering if it resonates with you at all, but as the thing that didn't happen at some point when I showed up for a ritual.
I wonder, yeah.
Because like you show up for the ritual and it feels good in the moment, and then it's gone and it's done and it's ephemeral, and so much of the way that we have interacted with ritual as part of like just humanity and in religion is a part of an ongoing community. So you would have, like you mentioned, the marriage ritual or something like that. It's not just done. You still existed very close to your community after that, and everyone saw it. And so, and college is just an interesting one in that equation, because the way we do college often these days, not always, there are people who go to college in their hometowns or something like that, or are very connected to their college, to their alumni program or something like that. But you are leaving the community in a sense. Yeah. And it makes it really interesting in that way. Somewhat similarly with seminary. Now all these institutions try to connect you as much as they can.
Well, they want your money.
Yeah, sure.
Except Western, which is...
Yes.
Carry on.
What?
No.
I got an email immediately requesting funds before I'd even graduated. Sorry.
But I think the kind of like tie lines that are thrown out there aren't always followed through on in some of those communities,
and that can leave deep wounds. I actually will say that's I don't know if all youth programs have this, but when we would bless our graduates, there was a lot of intentionality behind
Yeah.
continuing the relationship
Yes.
into college, sending care packages, checking in, scheduling phone calls. And I know people whose youth people didn't do that. Like, my youth director really cared about me going to youth group all through high school, and then dropped off the face of the planet when I left, and it was super painful.
Yeah.
And then their church didn't care about them anymore. That's real, especially if the institution you're leaving meant something to you. I couldn't care less about my undergrad community. I was thrilled to be done. If you deeply cared and believed those people deeply cared about you and they never checked in with you, they didn't care for you, that sucks.
That's painful.
That sucks.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
You know, I think I want to come back to what you just said a minute ago about the ongoing, but I think earlier things for me, I didn't feel a sense of belonging as much, you know? Like maybe my undergrad community, the people I loved and cared about, weren't necessarily in my class. We didn't go to my school.
Was your wife in your graduating class?
I meant more high school there, but
Oh,
like
sorry.
my earlier stuff.
Sorry.
Yeah.
In my graduating class, yes, but Sana and I had different ceremonies. So like she was a BS, I was a BA, so we wouldn't have been at the
She
same
was
one.
a BS.
I almost went to hers. She was a total BS, but I was a BA, if you know what I'm saying. So
Yikes.
it happened. There's, but I want to come back to what you said about follow through. There must be something like that in my stuff too, because you know we say that the pastor preaches the sermon they need to hear. Like every funeral I've done is centered on they're going to need you in the coming days, and here's what this is going to look like. And grief gets harder beyond the funeral because right now, today, everybody's here, but in the days to come, they won't be. When I've done weddings, I do that. Like, hey, all of you who are here, you are their community. You are the ones they like. That's a piece of how I.
And people took that very seriously.
I did that
when
in
you
your
did that
wedding.
for my wedding.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
And
so
made
there's
them all
this-
go, oh, wow, we are.
Yeah. So there's this thing that I have added to just about maybe every like graduation-y ritual and that kind of thing that I've done. So that makes me think there's something I'm compensating for, or not compensating
maybe,
for, but a
but, like,
wound I'm trying
yeah,
to
or
heal,
reacting to.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's super interesting, and that's probably why in yours I feel it's compelling to me. It's that piece of that's the other piece with this is it's going now. That's the other piece with like birthdays for me too. Is like I don't want a day, you know.
You want to matter beyond a day.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't feel good to be celebrated on a birthday or because this is the day that I've been doing this homework nonsense or whatever my program is for years. And now today you're going to be excited about it, but like not tomorrow.
And today you're going to
yesterday.
make space for it to be
Yeah.
a thing.
Yeah. I don't know that that's exactly it, but it's the I want every day. And this talks about that.
I know we're running out of time.
I also
We
have
could talk
something
about
else
this
to
forever. Okay, you go first because I feel like mine's gonna direct
It's
us
going to
somewhere
change
else.
the subject as well. I wanted to bring it back to your thing and say the part I really loved and appreciated about it.
Go for it.
Okay. To bring it back to Hannah's specific piece.
I appreciate that. Don't make it about me, please.
No, I love it being about you always.
I was actually serious.
But as a recipient of this, I loved your part. And maybe for you, the end is the only clear part of this threshold. Maybe you don't know what beginning you're stepping into yet. That's okay. One that resonated with me because I don't know what's next. For all the things I named, right? This is such a small piece, it's such a big puzzle that often feels impossible to solve. And when people graduate, it is a common practice to ask them what's next.
Yeah.
And when you don't know, I felt a lot of shame.
Yeah.
Because at least in my experience, like I won all those awards. People just have really high expectations for me in this lovingly beautiful way. It's because they just see big things for me. And to say nothing, I don't know, was painful. And for you to acknowledge that that space exists and is okay was when I started crying. And I think that's also why this ritual could be hard for others that maybe think they don't like graduations. It's an ending into what beginning?
Right.
And that is so rarely acknowledged in graduation ceremonies.
Yeah.
In high school, you're expected to put like where you're going to college next.
Right.
Which, if you're the one kid that's not going to college, first of all, kudos to you. I that's totally okay. It probably doesn't feel great.
Right.
You're graduating college and you don't have a job. I mean, it's a tricky space to be in.
Yeah.
And I just really appreciated that you acknowledged that and said it was okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, having been there myself, I needed to hear those things when I was a graduate because we sort of had plans, but then they all changed and we were staying and I didn't know what I was doing. And there's a lot of ways in which I still don't know what I'm doing, and it's okay. It's not where I want to be, but it's okay.
The
And
secret
it's
of
going
life
to be
is
okay.
really none of us
Yeah, exactly.
know why we got on this train and how to make it stop.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. No, but I'm grateful. I'm grateful that there was someone else who also needed to hear that. Yeah. Real quickly, I will try very hard to make
This
this
is a very
real
special
quickly.
episode for all of you.
It is.
For all of you.
So
I so appreciate getting to hear all of your reactions to these rituals because my experience is so different from everything we've named so
color
far.
me surprised as the 4.
I know. But okay, so we'll go with the 4 stuff for just a second. Phil saying, I don't want, it's going to be okay. Phil saying, I don't want this one day to be special. I want every day for people to acknowledge all those things. Or for that to just be the normal. I don't want to have to need a day to be pulled out. As a 4, having this sort of a ritual is deeply special for me because my terrible secret as a 4 is that I want. Damn it. I'm crying. It's fine.
You said damn
I
it.
know.
We're keeping it
our
in.
explicit rating finally pays
Content
off.
warning. We say
Content
these
warning.
words at the beginning.
Damn. Anyway, but my 4's terrible secret is that I really want people to acknowledge that I'm special. And these sort of rituals are like the one day that it happens and I don't have to feel bad about it. Okay, so there's that. But also,
Such quick access to emotions that I just can't relate to.
but also, like, yes to all of this conversation about these communities that love and support you should continue loving and supporting you after this. And this isn't ever going to be like this again. I have to say goodbye to all of these people, and this ritual lets me say goodbye. And for me, goodbyes are a thing for me. Like if they don't happen, it feels like that relationship or that experience didn't mean as much as I thought it did. So I think that for me, having rituals like blessing services or actually getting to go to commencement and watch all of my classmates cross the stage, and getting to do that myself, hugging my professors for one last time, all of those sorts of things, puts a punctuation mark on it in a way that allows me to let it go afterwards. Because after that, like the other thing about a 4 is like being stuck in nostalgia, which is 100% true. But that allows that to be a thing that I said goodbye to rather than a thing that is just on unresolved, or because some of those relationships will continue and some of them won't.
Right.
I won't ever see some of those people again.
Be thankful for some of that.
Yeah. And one of the things that really I am so grateful for about these rituals is it's a chance to say goodbye. And it's, I think these sorts of rituals are literally magic.
Yeah.
That they pull forward all of the history you have with all of the people standing beside you and all of the professors and all of the staff and all of the people who helped you get there, all of the friends and family who are in the seats. It pulls forward all of that history and squeezes it into this little moment that also pulls back all of the unknown future and bundles it all up in all of the hopes and dreams and fears that we have for it. And just like it like turns it all into this like tiny shining little thing that we all get to look at for a second. And that there are definitely moments that I didn't feel present to, but like to that entire ritual, like those are the sorts of things that make me feel like deeply alive. So I don't just throwing out my alternative experience. And I'm so grateful that we all exist in the same room together and get to have this conversation because it's so different.
Yeah.
I love that. That's all.
I think that's beautiful. And while you were talking, I will name that I realized the thing I do love about this is that the coming together of all the people from all the different walks. And I don't know if other divorced parent kids experience this, but for me, it's the one time, maybe twice a year, that my whole family is in the same, like both my parents and my step parents and my siblings, whatever, are all together.
Yeah.
And that feels complete and good. So I do get that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna cry. I'm sorry.
I don't need to.
I'm not gonna cry.
Yeah. I've got it covered for everyone. Don't worry about it.
Aw. Thanks for bringing us this, Hannah.
Yeah. Thanks for
and making
about
us
graduation with me.
enter our feels so deeply.
Mm-hmm. Anytime.
Well, happy graduation month to everybody in this May month. If this conversation has kind of sparked wonderings you have, or resonances or dissonances that you have with how we've talked about rituals, we'd love to chat with you about it. Mm-hmm. There's many different options for you in terms of where to go to chat with us about these things.
You can go to www.wayfolkarts.com and hit the Contact Us tab.
Mm-hmm. Yep, you'll also find many of the liturgies that we've talked about and posted about on that website.
Including this one?
Including this one.
Yeah, I'll put it up there.
Yes, indeed. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Don't use Twitter.
Have we posted to Twitter ever?
We post over there sometimes. Don't use Twitter.
Instagram and Facebook are the best.
We're gonna Twitter.
Those are the best.
It's done.
Do it.
Or come hang out with us on Discord.
And yeah, Phil, do you want to talk about that just a minute?
You should come hang out with us on Discord. We have different channels for different pieces. We now do have a lament channel if you have pieces or other pieces of liturgy you want to share, other beautiful things that you've been moved by or inspired by. We have what do we call it? Like a media channel where you can share cool things that you found that might be helpful for other folks planning liturgy or being inspired, and just places to chat about the stuff we all love. So that would be lovely to have you join us.
And if you're in the midst of a graduation season, or you're like, there's one coming up next year, Hannah, how do you feel about people using this?
I'm okay with it.
Use it, man, and then tell us that you used it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Also, I didn't mean to say man, as if you're all men.
We know.
I don't know your
not all
genders.
men. Yes.
Or if you even have them at all.
Yeah.
All right. Wow.
And lastly, amongst the many places, hard transition out of that you can have conversations with us. First of all, you can find us over on patreon.com/wayfolkarts, and you can find a continued conversation about graduations and rituals around that. We do the after show shenanigans over there.
Believe it or not, we have more to say.
We got more to say.
There's another liturgy.
There's another liturgy, and it's Maddie's. You should come hang out.
That's true. There's an extra special.
It's special today.
Shenanigan.
Yes, indeed.
It's not a shenanigan.
Yep. So at the lowest tier of patronship, you get access to a bunch of cool stuff. Lots of cool tiers. Head on over and check it out. Patreon.com.
We had lots of
Wayfolk Arts.
Cool tiers on this podcast today.
Many tiers.
All right. So, anyways, congratulations.
Oh, geez.